let's say you have a product idea and you want to source it. Maybe you want to make this hat better. Like this hat, I would definitely, when I packaged it, I wouldn't have folded it because you can see there's a crease. And I've had this hat and it still hasn't really gone out of that shape. So maybe I want to make this hat brim a little smaller, or if I want to make the size better, or whatever it might be. Your next thing when it comes to innovating a product is always going to be a manufacturer or supplier. So that's going to be your second roadblock, which is going to be finding a supplier from Alibaba. And it's such a tedious process to find a great supplier, and you have to really put in the work if you want to find a good supplier. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through what I do in order to pick the best supplier and really find the best absolute price, lowest minimum order quantity, and just making sure that, you know, I do my due diligence when it comes to finding a supplier on Amazon. So I'm going to share with you the tutorial and I'll just walk you through what my process is. But before I hop into that, my name is Pretty, and on this channel, I talk about how you can build wealth by using the web. So please feel free to subscribe, but let's hop into how you can actually find a great Amazon supplier that's gonna meet your budget and hopefully, you know, is gonna just be a long-term supplier for you. So let's hop over to Alibaba to see how we can find suppliers and what techniques I implement in order to find the best supplier. So before I hop into it, I just want to let you guys know I will be using Helium 10 to initially find suppliers through their X-ray extension. And this tool is so awesome. If you don't know about Helium 10, I highly recommend them because it allows you to look for the product, and it also connects you with actual Alibaba suppliers that have that product and they already do the hard work for you, which is finding it. But you obviously can just go on to Alibaba.com, type in your product and sort through them, and you can absolutely find it that way as well. But Helium 10 just makes it a little bit easier. If you want 50% off your first month just to try it out, there'll be a link in the description. And if you're a serious seller, I highly recommend having Helium 10 in your arsenal because I literally use it pretty much every day when it comes to doing, you know, validations for products, looking at keywords, finding new products, and so much more. Before hopping on Alibaba, I want to explain this to you guys. You want to know the difference between trading companies and actual manufacturers, because there is a middleman called trading companies that buy product from the manufacturers and sell them themselves in smaller minimum order quantity. So if your product is expensive, maybe you do want to go with a trading company, but their prices are usually higher than manufacturers, but manufacturers require you to place larger orders up front. So there's pros and cons to both. Pick the best one for you. Let me hop on my computer and I will see you on my screen. Let's talk about how you can find out which companies are trade companies and which ones are manufacturers. All right, so we're on Alibaba and I'm going to show you how to figure out a trading company from a manufacturer. And again, trading companies are usually the middleman. They've bought product from manufacturers and they're going to sell it at a higher price, but usually a smaller minimum order quantity, versus manufacturers. They want a bigger order quantity up front and it's usually a cheaper price than the trading companies. And now, you know, Alibaba is just like any other platform. They're going to pay to show. So like the people that show up at the top in the Alibaba page are usually the people who are paying the most for that spot. And so that doesn't mean the best supplier is on the first page. What you want to do is really contact a lot of suppliers, and I recommend contacting 30 to 50 suppliers, and then, you know, figuring out which one's the best. And I'm going to walk you through how I do it. So let's say I am using this, for example. I want to source a beach hat just like this, and we're gonna walk you through how I would kind of source a product. So let's do a beach hat, and this is for men and women. That's just how I found this hat, so that's what I'm gonna use. So here we see all the different kinds of hats, and you can scroll down the list and there's gonna be a lot of pages that you will see, but what you wanna do is figure out what supplier you wanna go with. So what you can do is view all suppliers, or you can look at the verified manufacturers. So let's say we want to buy a lot of these hats and we're really trying to sell them for the summer. Maybe it's a seasonal product that we're trying to launch. You want to do verified manufacturers because, again, you want someone really reliable to work with. Trading companies are also great, but again, they do charge more. What I'm going to do is go verified manufacturers, and I like to see if, you know, they are verified for at least 5 years. I want to have that as a bulletin point of like what I'm looking for in a good manufacturer. So that is key number one. And what I'm gonna do next is use these supplier types. So I love trade assurance. You definitely should use trade assurance because you never know. And it's just a good way to make sure you get connected with high quality suppliers, okay? So what we're gonna do is also look at what country, so they're mainly in China. What I like to do is also do customize from designs. I like to use the customized designs because let's say I wanna make this hat better. These are companies that are definitely gonna have it. Again, the price might be a little higher for these companies. You could get rid of that or you could keep that. You could do full customization. You can do all of these. And quick response, I mean, we'll see how quick they respond. Usually serious suppliers will respond to you fairly quickly, but what I like to do is I contact 30 to 50, you heard it right, 30 to 50 different manufacturers, and then I like to compare all of what their minimum order quantity is, how much they're charging per unit, what would it cost for the landed, for it to be in the Amazon warehouse, and you wanna have all this data written down. So what I use is just an Excel sheet, and I will write down the supplier name, company, and then I'll write down what their minimum order quantity is and how much on average it's gonna cost. And then I will also make sure that I ask them if they can do a customization for a logo, because again, I only sell private label products. So what I want to do is make sure that I am doing all of the things that I possibly can to make sure I get a good product. And the next thing, once you find a supplier, let's say you've written that message out, you've sent it, and what your message could be is literally, hi, I'm interested in working with you and I'm looking for a supplier who can give me a minimum order quantity, MOQ, for 500 hats. And I'm looking for customization in terms of putting my logo on there, and maybe you want packaging as well, so make sure that's known in the message that you send out. And then you also want to ask how fast they can deliver. Can they do air or do they only do shipping? Majority of manufacturers do both, but you always want to cover those bases. And then you want to dive deeper into if they can actually modify it, if they can actually do different colors, whatever your product innovation is, you want to make sure you make it clear and then get samples of that product and test it out and then place your order, okay? So make sure you're not rushing into just placing orders. I also like to, before I even get on Alibaba and look for a supplier, I make sure that I create a listing, buy my G10 code, make sure I have a UPC code. Everything's already set up in terms of the listing. Usually my listing is like 60% done by the time I'm placing my order because I've already validated that product. I have, suppliers that I can potentially count on, and I'm gonna start working on the listing. You wanna make sure that it gets approved. You have your title. You don't have to have your product pictures, but you at least have your bulletin points worked on a little bit because you want to make it real for yourself and you want to make sure that it gets approved by Amazon and that you're on the right track and you're making progress. Make sure you're doing product research, and once you found your product, definitely use Alibaba, but you want to look through all of these results and you want to find the best hat for you. I still haven't really looked through them. Let me look through them with you guys right now, and we are trying to find a hat that is similar to the one that I showed you. This one right here, and let's see if we can find it. And if we can't find anything similar, what I like to do is I like to message people who have very similar hats. So like this one, I would maybe consider reaching out to them because they could probably do something similar. So that's another little tip that you guys can implement. And lastly, once I find a supplier that I'm interested in, here's the same exact hat that we're looking for. So what we want to do is click this supplier. We're going to contact supplier right now. And what we're going to do is material. So what we would do is contact the supplier. We're going to click on contact now, and you can put the product material, but they know what this product material is. So what I would do is just, hello, I'm interested in this hat. Let me just type this out. Interested in this hat, period. What is the MOQ? And also, can you add my logo to it? Maybe you want to have packaging. Can you do custom packaging? And then lastly, how do you ship? question mark, can you do air? Maybe I'm interested in getting them quickly. And then they will get back to you regarding all these questions. And again, you can ask, you know, how many pieces they require. It does say it on their first page. Let me just copy this message so I can send it to him. But right here, you can see that it says who the person is and you can contact them. And their prices are for, you know, over 10,000 pieces, $1.98. For anywhere between, you know, 1,000 to 999 pieces, $3. So you can see this is a manufacturer, and the more you order, the cheaper it's going to be. So you can also do the same thing for a trading company. I highly recommend working with high quality manufacturers so you can build a long-term relationship. Again, it's so important to pick the right manufacturer because you want to find someone who is reliable, who can communicate really well with you, and who is responsible and is going to be an asset to your team, okay? So you want to find absolute best supplier. And so the next thing would be, once they've messaged you back, you're going to message, you know, 30, 50 suppliers. Once they've messaged you back, you want to start communicating with them and asking them questions like, can you customize it? Are you able to get this over to me in X amount of time? And you want to ask all those good questions that you need before you place a minimum order quantity. You want to make sure that you have covered every single base before you place the order, and I highly recommend that you get samples. And then you also, you know, make sure that your listing is up. That is so important. You don't want to just order stuff. And a red flag, when a supplier wants you to just wire them money and not go through Alibaba, that should be a red flag, and maybe you want to reconsider that supplier because there is a lot of fraud going on. You want to make sure you work with a verified supplier, and you want to make sure that you have trade insurance and everything is legit, okay? Don't just send money to people who are like, I can source this product for you. Don't do it, okay? And lastly, you know, I like to compile all of the message data onto an Excel sheet so I can pick the best one and then start comparing prices. Now, once I get all of the prices, I'm gonna look at the minimum order quantity. I'm gonna see what my margins are because I'm gonna have an idea of how much it's gonna cost per unit. So I do the math, make sure the profit margins are there. Don't forget Amazon takes 30%. And so you wanna make sure that your profit margins are there before you even place an order with a supplier, okay? So make sure you're doing your due diligence. After you've gone through those 30 to 50 messages, you will have found a supplier. Pick the best person who is great at communicating, who is responsible, who wants to help you make that product, and who is willing to compromise as well. And you want to make sure you double check your manufacturer's numbers as well. So you can go to Freightos.com and see how much it would cost for however much amount you're getting shipped over through air and sea. So double check, and you know, always hold your manufacturer accountable. Make sure they're not, you know, playing you. Usually manufacturers that are verified are trustworthy, but you want to do your own, you know, due diligence and make sure the numbers are checking out. But make sure that you track everything, that you be a project manager when it comes to finding a supplier on Alibaba. So, you know, like I said, it's really tedious to find a supplier, but you want to go back and forth with that supplier and make sure you get the perfect product. Get samples sent over. They can be kind of expensive, but it is so worth it. You don't want to just place a large order because you'll be stuck with all that inventory, and it's a large investment. You know, so make sure you're doing your work, make sure you're taking things slow and tracking all of the messages, all of the minimum order quantities, how much it's really going to cost, if they can do private label, if they can't, make sure you stay organized in an Excel sheet. If you have any questions about shipping, leave them down below. If you haven't checked out this video, I show how I found my first product using a black box, and I use similar criteria to my product. So I definitely think that Helium-10 is a great investment for serious sellers. And if you haven't ever tried it out, I highly recommend that you try it out. Use the 50% code, and that'll give you 50% off the first month, so you can do like a trial. But seriously, thank you so much, guys. It does help my channel when you use my code. But for now, I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you didn't, leave me a comment down below and tell me what I can improve on. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, because I definitely want to see you succeed, and I want you to not give up. Amazon is an obstacle course. It is, you know, a journey, but it is definitely worth it. Once you figure it out, you are set, okay? So make sure you don't give up, and I will see you in the next video.